No worries.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Upasna. Please share a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So my name is Upasna and I run a non-profit in Austin. It's called Peerbagh. Peer and Bagh. Peer comes from a saint, and Bagh means garden. So it's Garden of the Wise. And I've had about 20 years of marketing and communications. I began as an engineer, graduated to marketing, and I tell the story to a lot of people, which I consider my origin story. I had a team member in an actual meeting on Zoom say that non-native English speakers cannot be creative. And I said, this is something we need to figure out why people have that ignorance. And part of it is the representation we see in our books as kids and adults, and especially in our K through 12 system. So that kind of led us to creating a nonprofit that would do its part in helping solve the problem of representation and offering kids and educators and parents resources and tools. So what we do at Peerbagh is that we host storytelling workshops for kids and adults, and we do lots of different events at libraries and schools so we can expose them to South Asian heritage, culture, books. And so that's what I do nowadays in my full-time life. And I also write. I've always been a reader. I've always read tons and tons of books growing up. And so I think writing was very much a part of my life always. And now I think this organization sort of allows me to channel that well.
Wonderful. So which book are you reading for us today?
So today I'm going to read this book called Prahlad and Nida Learn About Holi, because it's obviously Holi. And it's a special book. I want to give a shout out to Neela, Muskan, Anjali, and Rian. These are kids from Austin and Montreal who gave lots of ideas for this book. And we ended up doing this almost as a part of our storytelling workshops, which I then put together, edited. And a lot of kids know about the festival if they are South Asian. But they wanted to read something in comic book style. So this book has been laid out like a comic for them to understand.
Wonderful.
It follows the story of two characters called Prahlad and Nida, whose names get mispronounced all the time in school. And so Prahlad is a bit tentative about sharing his heritage because he gets picked on. And then, they're doing a project together about, a world heritage culture that they want to share. And somehow his mom tells him the story of Holi, and they end up doing that project together. And so that's how they get to know about the festival, they get to understand why it's celebrated, and they also learn about Prahlad and think of him as a superhero. So he feels more confident in himself and his identity in the end. And the book has tons of journaling pages or extra facts, and it also has how can you make your own holy colors. It has recipes for making holy colors. So that's really what the book is about.
Wonderful. So I've lost my train of thought. Okay, so let's get reading.
Of course. And so I am going to try and read. This is a little bit of reading. I'll try and show you visuals as I can, but I'm going to read a part of the book. So it's January 17th. This is in Austin. Prahlad, Holi is coming. Do you want me to get laddus this year? Wait, what's Holi? Nothing, just an Indian festival. Now this is Prahlad, Nida, and Prahlad's mom who are talking. And now Prahlad. It's so hard to stop Mama from sharing her latest Indian food. My birthday and Holi are coming soon. So she has been talking about laddus all the time. Wait, is this the one with colors? My Baba celebrated too in Delhi. How about yours? Oh, really? My parents are from Agra. Maybe you should both do a project on Holi. Is there a story? Ma! Sure. Are you interested? I don't know how we got talking about Holi. Sometimes Mama can tell stories. She came to my preschool to tell the whole class about Diwali once. But she has never shared the story for Holi. So here we go. Now this is Mama, and you get into the backdrop of Holi. And so these has these old pages because it's once upon a time, Asura king Hiranyakashyap, the king of Multan, defeated the Devas in a battle. Devas and Asuras are divine beings, and they have the same father, Rishi Kashyap. Devas were born to his wife Aditi, and Asuras were born to his wife Diti. The king of Devas was Indra, and he was very upset that he got beat in the war against the Asuras. So while fleeing, Lord Indra captured Hiranyakashyap's wife, Kayadhu. This was so unfair. So Narad Muni, a devotee of Vishnu, helped release Kayadhu. Her unborn child, Prahlad, listened to Narad's chants. He was taught by Narad in his childhood and became a devoted follower of Vishnu. Meanwhile, Asura king Hiranyakashyap, Prahlad's father, was smug about his victory. He had a boon that granted him strong powers, so he could not be easily defeated. He told everyone in the kingdom to worship him and not God Vishnu. He just wanted to be loved by everyone. Prahlad refused to worship his father, King Hiranyakashyap. So he was devoted so much to God Vishnu. This made the king angry. The king then called his sister Holika to punish Prahlad. Holika had a magical cloak that protected her from getting burned in the fire. She dared Prahlad to go into the fire if he was a true Vishnu devotee. She mocked him and said Vishnu could not come to protect him now. She was really burned away, huh? Oh, wow. And that's where I'm going to stop because you have to read what happens in the book. This book is, we are taking this book around schools and libraries here in Austin. We typically perform this story, which means there's props and there's music and dancing when we do the story. But it's also available, obviously, on Amazon for anyone who wants to take this home and do the story themselves as a read aloud. And my recommendation is for kids whose names get mispronounced all the time. Have a look. Because there's always, it's a great opportunity to ask your parents why you are named the way you are and if there is like a meaning to the name, because there's always a why. And so it's a great conversation starter about your names and also the festival. And there's a lot of like really interesting songs, a lot of tidbits about who celebrates Holi. Nida is a character who's Muslim, but she also celebrates because it's just cultural. That's how lots of people would celebrate Holi in places where it was a cultural festival more than a religious one. There's also obviously Sikhs who celebrate it and they call it Hola. So lots of nice tidbits around for you to see how it is the festival of colors and love and how much kindness can do for you and why is it a superpower. So this is the book. Yeah.
No, wonderful. That's so amazing. For those who are joining and who don't know what Holi is, because we've had two authors talk about Holi, I just wanted to give a quick summary. I'm sure you have seen Holi or thought of Holi or heard of Holi, where it's the festival of colors, where we throw colors on each other. And this year it's on March 25th. So you can maybe, if your community, you can reach out and see where Holi is being celebrated, because nowadays in US, there are so many Indians now beautifully, there are usually community places where Holi is celebrated on a larger scale. So if you can celebrate it, because Holi is not like Sonali is very beautiful. We are going to be doing a collab with other authors and she's very beautifully going to bring that up, where Holi is not about anyone's age, religion, color or anything. It's for everyone. So Holi and Diwali both are celebrations that welcome everyone and they're celebrated by a lot of cultures across the world. So please check out this book and of course Priya's book and all the wonderful books that are about Holi. And thank you so much, Upasna, for your time today. Now, since it's Women's History Month, I'm asking all the women, which woman inspires you?
Yeah, I think there's two women who inspire me. There's lots of famous women in the world, so I'm not going to repeat their names. I think, but I do have women in history. Both of my grandmothers, one was called Gauri and the other one was called Lalita.
Lovely.
And I think they grew up in pre-partition India, also pre-partition Kashmir, where I was born as well. And I think raising a family or just even having the sense of agency to pass on culture to their kids and to their kids' kids takes effort, especially because they both grew up in a time when girls were not really encouraged to study. But culture takes more than just literacy. They passed on culture through songs. And I think it's something that sometimes we tend to dismiss, but grandmother's songs and stories are very valuable and intangible parts of our culture. And so if you have grandparents, my recommendation is to give them a call because you're lucky and they have a wealth of knowledge and stories that you can learn from. And so that forever inspires everything I write.
Wonderful. And what book inspired you as growing up?
I think the book I was always reading. So Aditi, I used to make those lists I used to get like a library list and literally
Yes.
write down how many hundred books I've read in a year.
Yes.
Sometimes I read books which were a little above my age level, which I don't recommend. But I did read this book which I loved, which was called Mill on the Floss by her writing name was George Eliot. Her real name was Mary Ann Evans, who was a British writer. She wrote at a time where women were not getting published. And this book
Oh.
is incredible. And it talks about a girl who's trying to like break the constraints of what the society has asked her to do and sort of be herself and not necessarily fit into the mold of being a perfect girl. And I've always
Mm.
kind of like that character is played subconsciously in my mind. It was also the first book review and a first character sketch I wrote based on the book, so it's always special to me.
Wonderful. Talking about books that you are not supposed to read growing up, when I was around 16, 17, I read The
Mm-hmm.
Fountainhead, and that really shaped the foundation of my value system where work ethic was concerned.
Yeah.
It was not at all appropriate for that
No,
age group.
I remember. I think I was 17 when I read it, and I read it in
Yes,
4 days, like
yes,
literally, because
yes,
it's super engaging. And, again,
it is.
it has to be like read with caution because there's lots of
Yes,
themes there, which right
yes,
now you would be like, oh my goodness, this is not what you want. But there
yes,
are parts of the book,
yes.
especially around work ethic, that will inspire. I had a whole Ayn Rand, like, I guess, several years
Phase.
dedicated to
Yes,
Yes, I did.
we've all had. I've read all the books at multiple times because, like you said, of course, a book is I mean, we have to remember a book is a story.
Mhm.
Not everything you're going to agree with, which I, of course, can understand.
Yeah,
But the work ethic aspect, I think that is something we're losing, and I think that is something that we should get back to. But that's a conversation for another time.
it is.
Uh, and Upasna has a wonderful series going on, in which even I have spoken about culture and our relationship to it. So do check that out. And what's coming up next for you?
Yeah, so I have a book coming up which is for adults, but because I was born in Kashmir, a lot of people get excited and they're like, "Oh, you're Kashmiri," and then the next question is, "What language do you speak?"
Yeah.
So I speak Kashmiri. That's the name of the language. That's how people get the name as well. And I worked with another author called Mr. Ashok Dullu, and we worked for about 2.5 years on this book where we've translated songs from 700 years. We have about 20 songs that are translated. They were not documented, so it's very hard to find lyrics. And the book is written in Devanagari, in Urdu, as well as English, so that it's accessible information. We have written the lyrics by listening to songs over and over and then translated them and provided a context to about 20 poets. And many of them are women, many of them were completely uneducated and literally just sang. So it's a great way for us to document the knowledge
Wow.
that was coming from the region. And it also talks about what we don't see right now is the composite culture of the valley, which was not always in conflict. So it has influences both from Islam, both from
Yeah.
Shaivism, where it's a mixed culture,
Yeah.
which is about peace and love. So hopefully people get that message from the book. But I'm excited about that. It'll be released in 24.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time. I am so excited for this readathon that's happening. Wonderful women coming and sharing wonderful stories and doing wonderful work. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Upasna, for everything you're doing.
Thanks, Aditi.